Hey everybody, how's it going? It's the Daily Shooter, and sometimes you just get the best questions when you're at the shop. You're looking at the case at a bunch of different stuff, and somebody says something that just sparks this debate. Next thing you know, there's 3 or 4 people talking about it. Today we're going to answer the question, is the Shield obsolete, given all of the different options that are available out there today? So let's talk about it. This channel is proud to be supported by the USCCA. The U.S. Concealed Carry Association helps responsible Americans like you prepare for what happens before, during, and after an act of lawful self-defense. USCCA members get life-saving education, expert training, plus defense liability insurance. These benefits provide more than 500,000 USCCA members with the peace of mind that they deserve. Plus, a USCCA membership is always risk-free with their 100% money-back, bulletproof guarantee. Membership is truly an investment worth exploring. Click the most important link you might click ever down below and activate your U.S. Concealed Carry Association membership now. So you got to admit that today versus maybe only 6 or 7 years ago, there are a lot more options in that subcompact micro striker fire carry category. You know, back 7 years ago, if you walked into a shop, there was very few options. But now you walk into a shop, they got an entire case of different things to choose from. You know, with all sorts of different modifications done to them and, you know, different options between each model and stuff like that. There's a lot more in that category than there used to be. But if you walked into a shop 7 years ago, there was one thing that not only took the public by storm, but took the industry by storm. And if you ask me, really started the whole revolution in that category. And that was going to be the Shield. The Shield was available back then, still available now, was excellent back then, and is still excellent now. Now, the word that was being thrown around in that argument / debate was obsolete. Is the Shield now somehow obsolete? And my immediate answer to that is no, of course it's not obsolete. Until the cartridge is obsolete, as long as this is reliable and accurate, then it's still a viable option. Using the word obsolete is probably a little bit of an overkill. That's like saying that somehow, because now we have magazine-fed options, that trapdoor or tube-fed lever from 150 years ago is somehow obsolete. Not only are those not obsolete, but they're still flying off the shelves these days. They have a place. There is a following. There is a reason to have one, and you could choose that reason for whatever you want. So obsolete wouldn't be the word that I would use. But the word that I would use, and this is something that's probably going to anger a lot of people that have this, own this, use this, and trust this, is irrelevant. I think that the Shield, especially given today's options, is going to be irrelevant, not obsolete by any means. This is still a viable option. However, again, like I was saying, the word that I would use is irrelevant. And it's irrelevant mostly, or I would say almost completely, because of its capacity, because of the design of the magazine and the capacity of the magazine, what's offered, and how you can even extend it out. For instance, it comes with a 7+1, so you can have 1 in and you can have 7 here in the magazine, or you get the 8 round. And the problem is that you are stuck with 7 or 8 rounds unless you want to buy something else that will extend that capacity to the existing magazine, or buy something that already holds more. For instance, I have an 8 round here with the X-Tech Tactical +2. That gives it a total of 10 rounds of capacity. Definitely much better, but still not great even to today's standards. So by extending this out, you're going to lose some of that concealability and some of that size just to get the same 10 rounds that you could get out of this. This right here is also 10 rounds, but guess what? That is a double stack. This is like a stack and a quarter because it's not a true single stack. They are staggered somewhat, but this is a true double stack, 10 rounds right there. So it gives you more capacity while maintaining that concealability. There's just other options that are available. For instance, if you wanted to jump up to, let's say, a 12 round, okay? There are 12 round options that are out there, but again, they're significantly longer than what you would get from the factory. So here's a 12 round right here. That gives you 12 rounds of capacity. Definitely much better, right? But if we were to take a look at a different option, I guess I'll leave this one up here for comparison. Again, with the 365, I don't know if I mentioned that before, that was a 365 mag. Here's a 365 mag with 15 rounds capacity. Still shorter, but +3 versus the 12 that we have here. So again, 15 versus 12. You're talking about more concealability and more capacity. So you can see that the options here are just that things have changed. Things have changed over the past 6 or 7 years, and we just have more things to choose from, making this a little bit more irrelevant, but certainly not obsolete. So let's go over some of the other options that are out there based on what people could get with this. Try and keep in mind those people in California, who you definitely can't forget about because they deserve the same rights that we do, don't really have that many options. So the next thing that I put on the table here is going to be available to pretty much anybody across the country. So here's an option that's actually been around longer, but if you ask me, is still more relevant than the Shield. And again, that kind of comes down to capacity, right? What you're looking at here is a very minor size difference overall. Okay, so we're looking at a 3.1 inch barrel, we're looking at a 3.48 inch barrel right here. So you actually get a slightly longer barrel, but not very much difference in overall length. If we were to take the Shield, well, let's say we put this on top right here, and we put them back to back, right? And we look at the difference in the overall length, almost identical. I mean, maybe a 1/10 of an inch difference between the two. So you're not really losing anything in length. And when you talk about width, it's going to be kind of the same thing. You're not really losing anything in terms of width, because this right here is only maybe a 1/10 or maybe 2/10 of an inch wider at its widest point than this is right here. However, you do get significantly more capacity. Again, if we take a look at the magazines for both, and we take a look at our G26 mag, this is just a standard factory mag. We put a pinky extension on it right there. And then we take a look at the Shield. Again, we'll use the larger example here with the 8 rounds. Take a look at the difference between the two. That's a pretty major difference if you're somebody who's going to be considering concealment or carry, right? Length, this is where it's going to print the most. Obviously, with that thing sticking out, you're going to have that big bulge in the back or side or front of your shirt. That's just going to be sticking out significantly more. In order to bump that up to 10 rounds, the same 10 rounds that you're going to find right there. The other option with the G26 versus the Shield is that I can take something like this, which holds 34, and still use it with the 26. It has compatibility with full-size magazines. You can't say that with the Shield. The Shield does not have compatibility with any of its full-size brothers. Now, I do want to mention before we move on to the next one, because it's not available in California, that these two are still on the roster in California. So you have some different options available to you. Now, California is stuck at 10 rounds. That's the max that you can go at this point. There are lawsuits right now that are currently winding their way through court that could change all that, both the roster and the capacity. So hopefully those go through and people in California get the freedom that they deserve. But again, both these available in California. Now, if we take this away right here, let me go ahead and show you what I think the main competitor for the Shield is these days. And that's going to be the P365. The 365 is going to be smaller. It's going to be lighter, but it's going to still maintain the exact same barrel length. So you're looking at 3.1 inches here and 3.1 inches here. But what you are gaining over here is going to be more concealability. Okay, you get better concealability out of this because, one, it's going to be shorter. It's shorter in the grip. It holds more in its magazines, and those magazines do not need to be as long as these magazines in order to accomplish that. So we have multiple magazine options from 10 to 12 to 15. Again, with the smaller option. So here we have a 12, here we have the 10, and here we have the 15. All available with this option, and all three are going to be shorter and thus more concealable than what you're going to get out of the Shield. Now, for some people, this one right here is going to be more relevant than this one. Why would that be? Given the fact that this one's smaller, it's lighter, it has more capacity, but maintains the same barrel length, and so forth. Why would this one be more relevant? Well, if you're more accurate with this one, if you are just better overall with this one than you are with this, let's say you pick this up right here and you're shooting exactly where you want every single time. You feel confident. You feel good when this is in your hand. But then you pick up this one and all of a sudden, it looks like a pegboard and, you couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with it. Doesn't matter if it's lighter, smaller, and has more capacity. It's not as useful to you as this one, because I would rather have 8 on target than have 12 miss just about everything. So it is I would say that the Shield is irrelevant on paper, and in a lot of ways, it's irrelevant on most stats that you get out of the current offerings that are out there on the market for the micro or subcompact categories. But for some people, it's still going to be completely relevant, and I have to acknowledge that. Now, I've got a lot of options in my safe right now that I can go to in subcompact and micro size categories, both chambered in exactly the same thing. So I have a lot of options, but these two are the two that I gravitate towards the most because, again, I have so many options in terms of capacity while the overall stats between the two remain fairly similar. You know, they're both very easy to conceal. They're both very easy to use and operate. There's not really much going on with either one. You just point and go. As long as you're proficient with it, then you're good to go. This one right here has significantly more capacity options than this one right here. Again, we have 10, 12, 15 we can go all the way up to. This one right here goes 10, 12, 15, 17, 30, 34, whatever you can find that'll fit a full size is going to fit with this as well. So you have a lot more options, and people do not give enough consideration to capacity. It's a lot more important than people give it credit for. They see something like this in the store. How good does it feel in my hand? What do the sights look like? You know, and they go over all of the standard things, but then they don't really give too much consideration to capacity. And capacity is extremely important because once you're done, you're done. You're out of the fight. It's over. Right? You might as well just throw it at them and then see if that distracts them enough where you can run because you're out. And if they're not, well, you lose, right? So capacity is an extremely important thing to consider. And if I'm going to go 7 or 8 rounds, but then I look over and I see options that will hold significantly more and not really add anything to my overall setup, that's just the way that I'm going to go. Making, again, I know I've kind of said it about 1,000 times, kind of makes the Shield irrelevant to me, but certainly, again, not obsolete. I want to thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe. Have a great day.